So guys, it's official. My boy Dior Johnson, man. Dior Johnson, who was once the top point guard in high school, who just came off of a season where he led the entire JUCO in scoring at 30 points a game. A player that people are saying should be featured in the Last Chance U. A player that people wrote off. People said that his career was over. People clowning him for transferring 8 to 10 to 15 schools in high school, no exaggeration, who committed to 2 colleges before, decommitted, committed to Pittsburgh, got kicked off the team. Like I said, people thought it was done. But guys, that boy Dior Johnson, man, that boy Dior Johnson is back. And he just announced recently that he is going to be committing to the University of Central Florida. Now, guys, off the rip, guys, I got to be 100% honest. I personally do not understand the move. I actually don't personally like the move. I'm generally confused about the move. But at the end of the day, guys, this is not my decision. Dior Johnson knows what's best for him. But that's why you watching this video. That is why you are here. Let's go ahead and break this down and let's talk about it. Now I know at first glance, the first thing that people are going to notice is that Dior Johnson is going to be teaming up with Mikey Williams. Obviously, you know, this is the headline. They're going to be bringing a dynamic duo. Both of these guys are in their redemption season. They both have a lot to prove, things of that nature. It definitely looks good on paper. But guys, people do not realize that this UCF team is actually bringing back their 2 highest point per game scorers from last season, who are also guards as well. Dior Johnson, who recently came off averaging 15 points a game. He also led his team in assists. He also led his team in steals. And then they're also bringing in Jalen Sellers, who was the highest point per game scorer this past season, had a few 30-point games, had a bunch of 20-point games, and he averaged 16 points for UCF last season. Now, guys, like I mentioned, these are 2 guards that are coming back to play for UCF this coming season. That's just the 2 guards right there. And mind you, those are upperclassmen as well that actually have college basketball experience. They understand what they're going to be going into. They have that experience. They have that veteranship. So most likely those 2 guys, especially if they're putting points to the board and they're leading teams in specific categories, they are going to be playing. And then they also have Keyshawn Hall coming in, who just came off a historic basketball season at George Mason. In my opinion, there's really just so many guards on this team that have proven that they can play, especially at the guard spot. And like I said, just really based on that alone, I really just don't understand the move by Dior Johnson, especially if you see all these many guards that have proven that they have what it takes to play at the collegiate level, and they all play the similar positions as Dior Johnson. I just question why he actually made that decision. And then another thing too, this one honestly might be even bigger than just the fact that they have a bunch of guards on that team. All these players that I just mentioned, guys, people do not understand there's too many players on this team that actually have something to prove, and each of these players have their own storylines, especially heading into next season. Obviously, Dior Johnson and Jalen Sellers, both of these guys, they've been in college for a long time. I'm pretty sure both of these guys want to make to the NBA, so they're definitely going to make, you know, a point to showcase that they have what it takes to play, you know, potentially in the league. You have guys like Keyshawn Hall, who just came off of a great season at George Mason. He's trying to elevate his basketball career, potentially make it to the NBA. His story is honestly insane and very inspiring, coming as far as where he came before, just being an unranked guy, to losing the amount of pounds that he had, to having a pretty solid freshman season at George Mason, and then getting in conversations to be a potential NBA draft pick. Him being so close to actually get drafted this season if he were to enter. I'm not sure if he did enter. I just remember there was conversations about him potentially getting drafted this year. You have guys like JJ Taylor, who just came off of an underwhelming season at Memphis, who barely got into games, who was once ranked top 5 in his high school class. I know he has a lot to prove. I know a lot of people already writing him off, and it's crazy. I haven't even seen JJ Taylor play in so long. Like, I just remember watching him play at Donda Academy with Robert Dillingham, and you know, really showcasing that he was one of the best players in high school, especially when he was in Chicago, teaming up with Mikey at San Ysidro. And then once he started college, it's like, you know, he's really just been an afterthought. So I know he has a lot to prove. And then we obviously know what Mikey Williams is coming into, just coming off of this past season, missing the entire freshman season at Memphis, and him going through what he has to go through, everybody named Mama writing him off. You know, he also plays the guard position. And then Dior Johnson himself, like I mentioned, people writing him off. him decommitting to all these schools, people saying he's a cancer to a team, people making jokes about him and Mikey, about this team teaming up. Everybody on this team just has so much to prove. Every single one of these players, they all want to make it to the NBA. And I generally do think that it can get into way of them all developing themselves as players and what their personal overall goals is as an individual. Obviously, everybody and their mama is going to say, I'm here for the team. We just want to win a March Madness tournament. We want to win this and that. Guys, that sounds good. But at the end of the day, if you're not showcasing that you can score the ball, if you're not showcasing that you have what it takes to play in the league, you can't put points on the board, you're not doing this or that, it's going to be pretty hard to be in the conversation to actually getting drafted in the NBA, especially if you're averaging like 4 or 5 points a game on the collegiate level. You're barely getting into the game. You're only playing about 15 or so, 10 or so minutes a game, especially when you're already not a player that scouts have your eyes on. Every single one of these players are guys that a lot of scouts aren't really looking at, as far as NBA draft picks. And they're not in the conversation on any type of mock draft or anything like that. So that's why it was different for guys like Reed Shepard and Rob and a few other guys who had a lot of conversations surrounding them as potential high draft picks. And then it's okay if they aren't averaging that many points or averaging that many minutes. So I'm really just trying to think, if all these guys are being overlooked right now, and if they're not all going to be in the game at the same time, especially if they're playing the same position, how is that really going to look during the season, at the end of the season? I'm just personally interested to just see how that's going to look. Like I said, I really don't know if this roster is going to be a team-centric type of unit. I know they have a great coach in Johnny Dawkins, who's definitely going to mentor all these guys and, showcase that he can be a great coach. He's coming off of a 17-16 season, playing their second season in the Big 12. But, like I said, I really don't know if this roster is really going to complement each other in a winning and everybody wins type of scenario. Like I said, I know it looks good on paper, but it's just going to be interesting to see just how it's going to look when they're actually playing. We know what Dior Johnson is bringing to the table. He's a prolific scorer. He just averaged 30 points a game this past season, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. But guys, he's not a shooting guard. He's not a small forward, bro. This dude is a point guard, right? He's a point guard that likes to get others involved. He can score the ball. It's going to be very interesting to just see how he's going to be playing off the ball, especially, the way he came off this past season. But, like I said, it's going to be interesting to just see how he's going to be fitting on the team. Another quick thing to note too, Mikey Williams is actually not listed on the team roster, especially at the moment right now. I believe he still has some legal issues that he has to get through first. I know he already beat the case, but I think I read somewhere that he has to wait a couple months before he can actually enroll at the school itself. So I think until that is actually situated, his name is probably not going to be on the roster. But just in case, if anybody looks at the roster and they don't see his name there, like I said, he has to wait a couple months before he can actually enroll at this school. But guys, you watching this video, what do you guys actually think about this move by Dior Johnson? Do you like it? Do you think it makes sense? Is there another program you think he should have went to? Guys, let me know down below. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.